Hey goalies, Brian Daccord here with Steve Brown. We're we're excited about our third podcast?
Third one.
Our third podcast for Fuel Athletic Success Training, and we got a hard one today. And the reason it's hard is because it's about character. And as goalies, we play such a unique position where you want to be a good teammate, you want to be a good person, and wish well for everybody, and that your team and everybody has success. The problem is, we all know there's only one net. And once you get into, let's say, high school midget, U14, you get in these play-to-win situations. And if you're not the guy, there's only one net, so you don't get to play. And then the only way you have a chance to play is if the other goalie, who could be your buddy, falters, or worse than that, gets hurt, right? And you've got to balance your desire to play versus being a good character and being a good teammate. So when I throw character out to you and the main attributes to character, what are some of the things that come to mind for you?
I think of values, right?
Okay.
I think it's hard to separate character from values and also beliefs, right? And how character is how you respond when no one's watching, right?
Right. Yeah.
And in those situations, it's when the pressure's on and you're in you can go internal, right? Do you engage in the struggle? Are you willing to do the self-evaluation part of the self-reflection to look a little bit deeper into are your beliefs helping or hurting you in that moment?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's a reflection of character, right? So it's in part, right? What are you doing when no one's watching, right? But sometimes in a sport or in a game, it's what are you doing when people are watching, right? So it's a little bit of both.
Now, how do you, when you get told you're not playing, Jenny's playing, not Jill, Bobby's playing, not Sam, whatever it is. When you're not playing, you're so disappointed because we work so freaking hard to play, and we want to play, and we believe in ourselves. Is it disingenuous to act like it doesn't bother you? Because you're a bad teammate if you do. How do you balance? How do you walk the line of being a good teammate and having a good attitude, but at the same time not being, everything's great?
Well, yeah, so I think there's two parts to it, right? The first is, I think we've alluded to the first two in both podcasts before, right? So if you think about it's about competing with, not against, right? So yes, the option and the goal, right, is about being that one in net, right? However, there's only room for one. Mm-hmm. You still have that opportunity to compete as well as you can with that other person, right? Even if you are the backup, right? And as you get better, hopefully they raise their game too. And as they raise their game, the whole team is going to see that rise. The other part is just simply going back to slow it down and asking yourself, what can I control in this situation, right? Because there's some things you can
control what you can control, because you have zero control over who's playing.
Absolutely, right? The parts of that aspect that you would have,
yeah,
the places of influence you would have, are your effort, right? Are you giving full effort, right? And that's checklist number one, right? You look at the fact, hey, in the self-evaluation process, am I giving my full effort, right? Because that's completely in your control, right? The other part would
not playing is zero in your control. The effort that you put in every day is 100% in your control.
And I'd kind of push back. I'd say a little bit not playing might be some in your control, right? If you're not doing well in practice, if you're not doing all the strength training, if you're not
doing all the extra stuff and doing it well,
then a coach is going to easily dismiss you, right? But if you're making it harder for that coach, right? If you're doing those little things, if you're showing up in practice, you have a good attitude, you put an attitude would be the second thing you'd have full control of, right? Effort and then attitude. If you're doing those two things, you can make it pretty hard for a coach to not play it, right? Because you're trying to facilitate.
Well, you're doing everything you can, right?
Exactly,
you're
right?
Doing everything you can to play.
So in that middle part, right, if we think about it like a trichotomy, not just a dichotomy of control, the trichotomy of control is, what do you have no control of? You really don't have control of the other player, right?
No,
or how well they're
zero.
going to do,
yeah.
right? You have some control, I would argue, over what the coach would like to do in that situation by kind of forcing their hand by playing so well, or by showing the energy and the effort. And then you have full control of the attitude and effort that you're going to bring every day.
So let me throw this at you. And it's something that as a coach, I always try to develop. I looked at the goalies wherever I was, and I would call us a department. And my thought process was, if the department did well, then the team did well. And if the team did well, then it was a reflection of the goalie department, right? So my thought process was that if we created this department and only one goalie got to play, well, that goalie was playing on behalf of the goalie department, on behalf of me, the goalie coach, and on behalf of the guy that wasn't playing. And what I wanted to try to get at was that if Johnny wasn't playing, that he felt some pride and success for the goalie that was playing, because he did everything to push that goalie, and he did everything to put the department, right, which meant practicing your asses off, making it hard for the guys to score goals, making that environment better for everybody. And so what I try to do is to create a situation that if whoever played in net, there would be some sort of pride or some sort of feeling of being a part of it by the goalie that didn't play. Yeah. Is that woo-woo, or is that...
No, I think
is that fair?
It offers a common purpose, right? So if we have a shared mission, a common purpose, then we're going to work towards that, right? It's kind of simple goal setting, right? We had talked about that a little bit. If I feel like there's going to be something that we can work towards, right? That I'm part of something bigger than myself, right? A lot of times when that backup goalie, we talk a little bit about, I know we've mentioned in some primers before, is that identity formation, right? Like, who am I without being a goalie, right?
Yeah.
And so if you have a common mission and a common purpose about I'm with this team and I'm somebody else, then it makes it easier for somebody to kind of get on board. And I guess the question I have for you based off of that is, how did you come to that department idea? Like, what was the origin of that?
What was best for the team? And then how to make it so that the backup goalie felt a part, because it's not easy. Like, you've got 4 lines, you've got 6 defensemen, you got 3 sets of Ds. Pretty much everybody jumps on the ice, and everybody's involved in the game. But in our position, you sit there with a clipboard, or you sit there cheering on the guys. So it was a way for me to try to give that goalie a feeling that the team wins, he's part of it. And he did something to contribute to that success. And it's not an easy sell, but when I coached a team, that was the very first thing I did. We're the goalie department. I'm the goalie coach, you're the goalies. And we stick together. And then when we need to make changes, and we need to say, hey, we can't start practice with the 5-shot flow drill every day or we can't start practice with a 3-on-3 game with the nets outside its crease because we're lost. Like, whatever, then we're a department.
Yeah.
And then my role would be to take the needs of the goalies, go into the head coach and say, hey, these are the things that we need as a department, and try to tie us in as one group. So that was kind of the genesis.
And how did they buy in? Like, what was the reason? Was there initial buy-in? How did that work?
I'll be honest, I thought that the key to making that work was to do it right away. I think if you wait till a month into the season and go, oh, by the way, guys, we're a department, it's too late, right? Mm-hmm. To build that, you build it right from the first day of training camp. You know, we're the goalie department, and this is the way that we're going to do things. And we're going to make our players better. We're going to make you're going to make me better as a coach. I'm going to make you better as a goalie. You're going to make each other better. And you know what? We, as a department, have no say whatsoever who's playing. That's the head coach. That's his job. It's his team, all right? So the interesting thing about the head coach is he's got a W or an L beside his name after every game, okay? So he makes a decision. And therefore, it's out of the department's control. So the coach makes the decision. I have another question for you. All right. So you're not playing. You're Steve the goalie. I know you're a closet goalie. I always wanted to be a goalie. And your buddies on the team. Hey, Steve, I don't understand why you're not playing. You're better than the other kid. Like, I don't get it. How do you respond to that? What do you say when your buddy's going, you're better than the other goalie, you should be playing? The coach is a donkey. How do you handle that? What do you say?
That's where character really comes in.
That's character, yeah.
Right? Like, and that's where not only character, but self-awareness.
Because your ego wants to say, frickin' rights.
Oh, absolutely, right? Like,
I'm the best guy. I'm the best guy. Coach, put me in right now. Let me play. I'm ready to go. See, everybody on the team thinks I should be the starting goalie. Yeah.
You should want that almost, right? To an extent. Yeah. But the key is like, what's best for the team, right? And what would happen if so first of all, when somebody asks you like a why question, like, hey, why aren't they playing you, right? There's automatically a surface level nature to that question, right? Like, what questions allow us to dive deeper? We've talked about that. Yeah. Why questions keep us at the surface, right? So if someone asks me a why question, like, hey, why aren't you playing, right? It's going to elicit all those emotions that I'm feeling that are really right at the surface, right? Those questions about, you know, that I might take and kind of, I might run with my emotions a little bit, right? And those can be really distracting to a team, right? Because now all of a sudden you're kind of creating schisms, right? You get divides within the team. If I buy into your idea or philosophy of a department, right? Well, then just the nature of that doesn't allow me to do that, right? Because we're one department, we're one unit working together, right?
So what do you say, Steve the goalie, when I'm your buddy and I say, hey, you should be playing? What do you say?
So this becomes the important thing, right? Like,
because what you say to me could get translated.
Absolutely, no. More than likely, what I say to you is going to get translated just because of human nature, right? And so really, it's having the forward thinkingness to know what you would say, right? And I know sometimes there's cliche things to say, right? So you have to own it, right? And there's a difference between just saying the cliche thing and someone kind of reading you the other way. But if you buy in to that idea, hey, we're a department, right? And that he's right now, coach is riding him, right? Coach is with him. I'm doing my best, right? I'm going to get better. He's going to get better, or she's going to get better, however it works. And if you kind of give yourself permission to kind of take a step back and just say, look, right now, I'm focused on just working as hard as I can. If I get the opportunity, I'm going to rise up. Yeah. But other than that,
I'll be ready, buddy.
Yeah,
I'll be ready.
I'll be ready.
I get the call, I'll be ready. But right now,
I got the call. But and then the other piece is not to divide from the coach, right? Because you don't want to have that dichotomy too. So right there, you're like, hey, coach is making decisions. You know, that's where we're at right now. And his intention, you mentioned it, right? The coach is going to have the W or the L next to his name or her name, and that they're going to make the decision that they think's best, right? Yeah. They may be wrong, but you have to kind of open it up and kind of support and be strong enough, right? So there's a vulnerability in there to be strong enough to be like, hey, I'm going to do my part and I'm ready.
Because you can't, if you say anything, you lose, right? If you, oh yeah,
Yeah. Well, what happens, right, in those situations?
If you
what happens?
say anything, oh yeah, then you're the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're painted with the brush that you don't have. You're not a character. You're not a team player, right? Which is funny, because everybody else gets to play except you, right? And you're not the team player. You're sitting your ass on the bench, and you're not the team player. That's the tough thing about it. And it's almost like you don't want to accept it in a way, because you want to believe in yourself. But I think you're 100% right. It's the why versus the what, right? Right? Not why aren't I playing? It's what can I do about it?
Yeah. Like,
right.
What's in my control, and what can I do about it, right? And how, and is the goal about you furthering your ego, right? Because if it's about furthering your ego, you're like, yeah.
Because that's what it is. When someone says to you, when someone goes to you and says, hey, you're this, you're that, well, your ego played like, because you want to go, yeah, you're right. I should be playing. I am the best goalie here. You want to just say that because you feel so, because it's a battle. You sit on that bench, it's a battle of self-esteem. Your self-esteem is getting the crap kicked out of it while you sit on the bench. And that's where the inner struggle comes. And I did a primer not too long ago when I was talking about, that overcoming, right? That failure, that feeling. If you can get through the crap, if you can understand, okay, you're not the guy, and not let your self-esteem go down the toilet, then you win at the end.
Yeah.
Right? It's a battle of attrition at that point.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest game, or the game that all humans play, is the battle over our own thoughts, right?
Yeah, I love that one.
And our thoughts are constantly.
Anybody else, you play your own thoughts.
Yeah, right? Like, and so that's the game that we play in our social lives. That's the game we play in the arena. And so in those moments when you're in the locker room talking to somebody, right, are you going to show that slip in character, right?
Right.
And when you show that slip, what does that do, right? So I show that slip in character, I show a chink in the armor. And it's not about, I shouldn't say chink in the armor, because it's not about having this invulnerable shield around who you are, but it's about making decisions and being a person of value, understanding that the most important thing, and this goes back to ego, isn't how you feel about your own abilities. It's about what's best for the team, right? And is it team first or you first, right? And if you can put team first, and maybe finding places within your role to help people out, right? So are you spending some extra time after practice?
Hence the goalie department.
Exactly, right? So are you contributing and helping out, whether it be scouting, taking notes, whatever it is when you're on the bench? Is there things you can do to promote or help your other goalie out, right? That's going to help the team. Is it being enthusiastic or helping out some of the guys on the bench, right? And being a support for them, right? That could.
Because if you are that guy or that girl, and you get your chance, your teammate's going to play for you. If you're the whiner, if you're the sulking, why me? And then you get your opportunity, they're not going to be there for you. But if you're that guy that brings the energy, that what can I do? What can I do in this situation? You either leave it and get out and done. You either leave it, walk away, or you do what you have to do.
And one of my favorite examples is about Tom Brady when he was at Michigan, right? So Drew Henson was recruited.
Yep.
Huge superstar.
Yep.
He's going to come in. He's going to take it. Brady was one of a few quarterbacks that were on the roster still. Yep. And one of the reasons, he was about to transfer. One of the reasons he kind of stayed, was because he wanted to show that he wasn't just going to be dismissed. He was going to show what he could do. But in that competition, one of the reasons Lloyd Carr actually allowed him to play a half and a quarter, and then Drew Henson a quarter, was because he had become such a leader that his teammates were like, no, we want him as the quarterback, right? He's somebody that we trust. He's somebody that's a good leader. He's what we want. And that allowed him the space to then go out there and play and then earn the job. And so there is something about being that glue person, right? Showing those character traits, being that person of strength, integrity, and that can be that leader. And when we think about the definition of leadership, it's about bringing people together for a common purpose, right? So you don't, I mean, it helps if you're playing, right? It gives you a little bit more stance, but you can do subtle things on the bench. You can do certain things at practice in the locker room that can help contribute to that environment.
You know, it's so funny. You talk about that. And one of the things that I've learned from my many years of coaching here, the teammates, they gotta want to play for you. They're just plain and simple. Things aren't going to go your way. You're not going to get the bounces. You're not going to get the little things. It's such a little thing, but it means so much. And back in the day, goalies, you're a goalie, right? Be on your own island. It's not like that anymore. You gotta be one of the girls and one of the guys. Like, that's the way it's got to be. And I want to talk a little bit about parents and how this whole environment affects the parents, because it's so funny, because I've had the phone call 100 times, and it's the exact same thing every time. So, Dak, the other parents come to me, and like, it's not me. The other parents come to me and say, we don't understand why your son's not playing or your daughter's not playing. They're coming, I'm not doing it, they're coming to me. And it doesn't go over too well, but my answer is always the same, and there's like this dead silence on the phone. I go, what do you think they're gonna tell you? Yeah. You know, like they're not gonna come to you and say, hey, by the way, we agree with the coach. Your kid shouldn't be playing. The other guy, like, they're not gonna come say that. So they're gonna try to make you feel good. Sure. And they're gonna say, oh, I don't understand why Jimmy doesn't play. Yeah. Right? So from a parent relationship and any advice for the parents when they're in a situation when you're sitting here and so the two parents are here and the two parents there, and you know the only way that you get in is if that kid fails and so on and so forth. And you know, what do you say about the parent relationship?
I think there's two parts. I think for that one, the first part is being able to separate the fact that you have no control over really the outcome, right?
The parents have no control.
It's the players,
yeah.
Right?
Hopefully.
So if you,
hopefully the parents have no control. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's step one, right? And to know that you can influence, right? We know that even at the high school level that parents are a huge influencer for what their kids make and the decisions that they make and
how they act.
And how they act. Yeah. And so the other part of it is for the parent to be more self-aware, right? Because their ego sometimes gets put on the line, right? Because sometimes they're tied, or the success.
Because as a parent, you want your kid. You want it so bad for your kid.
Absolutely, yeah. Right. And what you said is right on. The fact, or this idea that what else are the parents going to tell you, right? And then there's, within the world of cognitive psychology, there's the idea of cognitive distortions, right? That sometimes your thinking might be incorrect, right? So you might be jumping to conclusions, right? So that means you may be making an assumption without all the evidence being actually collected, right? Yeah. So if you're only collecting it from sources that are going to be favorable to you, you're dismissing a whole probably array of other information that the coach is actually using to actually make the decision on who's playing. Mm-hmm. But so often we only want to hear or see what we feel comfortable with, even as a parent, right? And so are you asking yourself the critical questions? Are you holding a mirror up to yourself? Are you asking yourself those questions about, did I gather all the information? Well, why is, Mary playing over like Jill? Like, I don't know, right? But like, have I checked the stats? Have I seen the games? Have I seen how the teams played, right? All those other factors when you're kind of clouded, right? And you're trying to protect your own interest.
And at the end of the day, and you can know all that stuff, it doesn't matter. For some reason, the coach is going to do what the coach is going to do. You drive yourself crazy thinking about it. So I'm thinking about this, though, just within our conversation and how it's gone. Going back to parent versus parent. Well, you get back into the why as opposed to what, or, you know, your goalie is what you do, it's not who you are. Mm-hmm. Well, they're kids, they're people that happen to play goalie, right?
Absolutely.
So if the parents could look at, well, goalie is what they do, it's not who they are. So he's not the enemy. He's not a bad kid, or do you know what I mean? It's not about wishing something bad on that person. It's more of, okay, who are they? Not what do they do? If that's the attitude, I think the parents could come together pretty good.
Yeah, and I think you can almost, for some parents, you can put that light on them. Who are they? Are they a hockey goalie parent?
Oh, it's a really good point.
Or are they also...
Yeah, that's really good. Like, are you a hockey parent or are you a person? Like,
exactly. Right? Yeah. I mean, have you built your life around traveling the games, and that's part of the process, and being able to talk to, and maybe some of your relationships or conversations are built around that, right? And you've made a commitment too as a parent, right? You've put in time and effort too. So how much of it does that play in that conversation too?
That's good. I like that. I think our time's up. We're going to end on that. Now, if you guys want to check out the podcasts, the different podcasts and the primers that we have, I think the best way to do it is probably YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. So that YouTube page has the assignments and the primers and the podcast. That's probably the best bet. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast, and I look forward to now that we got our team gear here, using that team gear the next one too. Look forward to seeing you again. Good luck.
Bye. Thank you.